Hello everyone. Recently I've been working on a C++ program just for fun, but I noticed that I had some things in it that I thought might be helpful to some other people. So one of the things that I'm doing within the program is iterating through maps. Well, how do you iterate through maps? If you're newer to C++, it might not look intuitive at first, especially if you're really new to the standard template library. So I'll demonstrate 3 methods of doing this. Now I've already gone through and tested this, so I have the 3 examples on my clipboard, but I'll show you one at a time. What I have is I have a person structure. Oops. I have a person structure. This is a pretty stereotypical looking representation of a person, so there's not a whole lot to say about it. I've also defined an operator so that I can write this out to a file stream, and I'll be using this to write this out to cout. Within the main, I create a map that's going to be storing my persons, and they're going to be keyed off of their social security numbers. I create 3 person objects with fake social security numbers, of course, and then I insert those into my map. Now we need to iterate through them. The most typical way of iterating through a map looks like this, where you start off by initiating an iterator object, and you can get the initial value for that from whatever the map object is .begin. And while that map iterator is not equal to whatever the end value is, you just step through it. For each one of the steps, you can just access the member's name first and second on the object, where first will have the key value, second will have the object value, whatever it happens to be. With that in place, when I run this, we should see all 3 of these person objects printed to the console. And so there it is, all 3 have been printed. Now, let me show you the second method of doing this. I feel like the second method of writing to maps is a bit cleaner. Using the second method, instead of getting a pointer, I get an object where I can just directly access the fields and output the first and the second values. So it's incrementally better than what the previous example was. So let's run it. Now, since I'm keeping the first method of iterating in place, we're going to see the values printed out twice. And there it is. We can see the output from the first iteration approach and then the second one. This third method of iterating through the map is the one that I find to be the favorite. I put it in place, and you can see that it's showing that a syntax error. The reason for that is when you start a new C++ project within Visual Studio, it starts off using the C++ 14 standard. You need to at least be using C++ 17. So when I change to 17 and apply that, you can see that the error went away. Now I find this one to be the cleanest because instead of having a map iterator object, I can just get values directly populated that have the information I need. So the key value gets put in one object, and then the person object gets put into another. So let's see it run. So there you can see that the third method does also work. Now, before you go and start applying this to your existing projects, keep some things in mind. I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. I do prefer the third method. You're not dealing with pointers, and I'm comfortable dealing with pointers. And I'm comfortable with many of my coworkers dealing with pointers, but I also recognize them as another way someone can get into trouble, especially if someone else picks up a project in the future. I don't know that future developers that inherit something are necessarily going to be as reliable and confident at using pointers. So there's some real advantages to using the third method. On the other hand, the earlier methods are going to be compatible with more compilers. And if you have existing source code out there, I don't suggest just switching to C++ 17 just so that you can use this. Because, of course, if you switch language standards, that's going to affect other areas of your program. And it's possible everything will be just fine. But if you're making that switch, you'll probably want to have like the QA and development resources to examine and test the code to make sure that there's nothing that inadvertently gets a new behavior because you've changed the language standard that you're using. But I hope this information is helpful to someone. Just give some thought and consideration before you select one of these 3 methods and apply it. There's also a blog post that goes along with this. You'll be able to find it at j2i.net when I make it public. I'm actually making this video public first. And I'll be having some more C++ related tips posted in the coming weeks, and some other things that have to do with other areas of development in some of the coming months. Until next time.